proximal box, and we'll prepare the proximal box the same way as we prepared for the molars, a class 2. Okay, so we'll need a 245 burr, the same burr we used to use for molars. 245 and 330 burr. These are the two burrs which are used most of the time in cavity preparations. Okay, if you go on the internet and you search for the videos, you will find out that there are so many different other these burrs have been used from different people. It's basically due to their clinical experience, but theoretically, and what the book says is like the two burrs. One is the 245 and the other is the 330. These should be used. So if you have been asked wherever in the exam that which burr is the most ideal among all the burrs, so 245 will comes in number 1, and then 330. 330 is usually used for the occlusal part of the cavity. So if you are preparing a class 1 cavity only, obviously the occlusal part is involved, so 330 burr is preferable than 245. But in the 245 there is a, the advantage is it's a 3 millimeter long. So if you take a half of it, you will have a better idea how much deeper you are going. Okay, the dimension is about 0.8 to 1 milli, and that is quite enough to prepare a conservative preparation in case of a class 1 cavity or a class 2 cavity in the proximal box. So you will not overcut. So that is very important. And the other important part is that it should not be a diamond burr. Okay, there are two types of burrs available in the market. One is diamond, the other is carbide. Carbide burrs are usually used for cutting cavities. In the clinics you will find most of them diamond burrs, okay, in the clinics. But that doesn't mean that you are not using carbide burrs from now. No, actually it is carbide burr, but the diamond burrs are also in play. People are using it. It is equally good, but carbide burrs are more brittle, but they are more strong in cutting. Okay, so if you brittle means that if you drop your handpiece and it goes on top of this like that, it will break away. Okay, but they are hard burrs. They are very tough burrs. So when they are tough, it means that it cuts more readily. It will cut very easily. So what is the advantage of this? When it cuts more easily, it will create less friction as well as less heat, which is very good in case of a clinical or a natural tooth, which is vital. You are preparing a cavity. Okay, so the heating up is less in this. Although we are using the water spray along with that in the oral environment, but it has better cutting ability as compared to the diamond. Diamond is not actually cutting. Okay, it is not cutting because it is a rough surface. It basically it doesn't cut, it drags out. Okay, it drags the surface, it roughens the surface, and that roughness go on, and they remove the tooth surface. So during that process, more heat is produced. So even when you are using the water spray or air spray along with the diamond burrs, the tip or those areas which coming in contact with the tooth surface, which are supposed to be removed, at that specific point the heat is too much. Okay, so long-term study shows that pulpal necrosis in deep cavities, if you are preparing a cavity on the diamond burrs, have not a very good prognosis in the long term, like 5 to 10 years. You will see the teeth will be necrosed, even if you are using the this along with the water or air spray. But comparable to that, carbide burrs have a better prognosis. So keep in mind these things. Okay, it's very important. Why are you using the carbide burr? Why not be using the diamond burr? There must be questions arising in mind. Okay, so starting with the class 1 cavity in the premolar. Okay, we'll use this side to see you better. So second, first is brittle. It will be a bit difficult for them. Half of the students should go to Dr. Mahin so that you can see better. Okay. So that would be a punch cut initially. This is a mesial fissure or mesial pit, and this is the distal. So we'll create 2 punch holes, okay, up to 1.5 milli, so that we have an idea how much deeper you have to go in the rest of the teeth. Okay, so this is a 245 burr. We have to be at parallel to the long axis of the tooth, and we will start creating. So I'm going at least half of it inside. Okay, and the same I'll go inside here. So these are the 2 punch holes, you see, have been created. We will check the depth again. If there is any discrepancy, we can correct it now.
What's the point, sir?
Huh?
What's the point?
2 punch hole, because we will, when we connect these two, it will become a class 2 cavity, a class 1 cavity. Okay, so this one is a little shorter than this one, you can see. So we'll go a little more to create a 1.5, and now that's it. Now the 2 punch holes are there. Now we will just connect those. So by connecting means that we will only move laterally. Yeah. Okay, we are not going to go deeper, or we will not push our handpiece deeper. So that will create a uniform pulpal floor. Okay, so we can start either from the distal punch hole, move mesially, or we can start from mesial punch hole or move distally. So both are correct. You see, I am not pushing the burr down. Always keep your handpiece parallel to the long axis. Yes. Now this is a slit that has been created. Now if you see closely in the premolar, there are secondary grooves moving along the buccal and lingual areas. Okay, so obviously a dovetail. This is not a dovetail, it's just a straight slit. I have seen a few students, they prepare a straight slit in molars and then they create a distal or mesial box for a class 2. You have created a slit, but this is not a dovetail. A dovetail should be moved laterally a bit so that it goes into the secondary grooves. If you are not taking it into the secondary grooves, it will not become a class 1 dovetail. Okay, so you have to move it around slightly. So as we are preparing for a class 2 cavity on the mesial side, we will prepare a slight dovetail on the distal side towards the buccal, keeping in mind that the distal margin ridge should not be undermined. So how we will be avoiding this? What is the point in avoiding a distal margin ridge undermining?
So we keep the resistance.
No, how will we keep the distal margin ridge not undermined in a class 1 cavity? Divergent. Your occlusal plane should be divergent. So as you move distally, your handpiece should not be straight now. It should be slightly divergent, so that maximum dentine is preserved. If you are keeping it straight, what will happen? Most of the dentine from below the margin ridge will be gone and it will become, yes, so we will keeping it slightly divergent towards the distal. So we are straight here, but as you move towards this, we'll keep it like this. Okay, and we will go slightly towards the buccal groove. Okay, now this is a dovetail. Now you can see. Okay, you don't need to go to the lingual groove. That is not necessary because this tooth is smaller comparable to the molar. In molars you can move around a bit, you have a liberty to move around, but in the premolar you don't have to do this one, the second one, so that you have an idea. Both. It's better to use the Toffel-Meyer strips because they are small and they can move for large distances. But we will use this one even, no problem.
Avoid use the pen.
Sorry? This is what I told you, that we want to protect the adjacent tooth. Okay? No, not this. This is not needed. We'll only place the strip with the wedge. Okay? So we place this just like that. It's a bit bigger, so the availability of the seeing will be a bit limited. So we'll take a smaller one so that we can see better when we are cutting. It's very important that you see whatever you are doing. If you cannot see in surgical procedures, it's a disaster.
I know it does work without it, doctor.
Without what? You can. But this is just another way of using it. Okay? You have done it without it in case of molars, right?
Yeah.
You can do that, but I just want to show you that this is also the this is also, yeah, we have used a rubber dam already. There is a rubber dam, we assume. Yeah. So you place a wedge and you will stabilize it with the use of, okay? Now this is stabilized, okay?
But doctor, the patient there is a tongue.
Huh?
The patient.
Here?
Just around the top.
When you have a rubber dam,
Ah,
the tongue goes down, okay? There is no tongue there now, yes. Now, come back to the preparation. As you see, now we will go more mesially, keeping the pulpal floor depth the same, okay? And at right angle to the long axis, okay? When you reach to the proximal part, you will create a slightly buccal and lingual slit. The same you prepare in the distal side, but only the buccal slit for a dovetail. And the proximal part you will do both lingual as well as buccal. So buccolingually, you will move around buccolingually. But the difference between the distal and the mesial is that here you will not diverge your burr towards the mesial. Okay, because we are actually cutting it, we are actually removing the margin ridge. We are not saving it. So that is why here we will keep this the same. You will go on, you will not deeper your pulpal floor, it will remain the same as 1.5 milli, okay? You will go slowly and steadily until and unless a small piece of enamel has left. Same depth till now, the same as for the you prepare it for the molars. As the strip is there, so you don't have a fear now that you will cut some of the surrounding tooth. Okay, that is it's a good sign. It creates more confidence and you can work freely, comparably to in those situations in which you know that if you slip a bit, you will damage the tooth, the surrounding tooth. Okay. Now you see a small slit of enamel is there. Now in the natural tooth, it's very easy to remove it with the help of an explorer, because undermined enamel is very weak. But here it's difficult to remove it with this, so we'll use a hand cutting instrument. Usually gingival marger trimmer is there, or enamel hatchet. Okay, enamel hatchet can be used. Chisel is a very good you say a hand cutting instrument, the Benangle chisel, but it's not available with us in the, so we will use this hatchet. Okay, although it is not sharp, but we try to remove it. So we'll go inside the proximal box and move towards the, and you see it's gone, okay, from the base. Now you will remove the rest by checking. Always clean the gingival floor, because if you go to the gingival floor at the end, usually it creates problems. So you see, when you remove your when you are finished with the class 2 cavity preparation and you say that everything is good, and when you remove the individual tooth and look it from proximal side, usually the gingival floor is like that. It's circular. It should not be circular. It should be having definite line angles and point angles. Okay. Now we have an open contact. Now the contact is gone. Now we'll try to finish the cavity. Okay. And how we are going to do this? Again, the functional cusp and the non-functional cusp, we have discussed this previously, is very important. Which one is the functional cusp here? It's functional. Come on, guys. Don't make mistakes in this. It's very important. These are basics. You should know it by fingertips. In the upper, the parietal cusp is functional. In the lower, which cusp is functional? Buccal. So when you are preparing a proximal box and you are going towards the buccal side, you have to prepare the inverted cone shape. So it would be an acute angle between the gingival floor and the proximal wall. But towards the non-functional cusp, it should be a butt joint, 90 degree. I will repeat again. In the functional cusp, which is the buccal cusp, okay, this principle remains the same for molars, for upper, for lower, for all class 2 cavities. This is a functional cusp. Okay, when you go to the proximal box and now you are preparing this side, you have to slightly diverge your burr like this, so that an acute angle is prepared. Acute angle means inverted cone. Okay, this is for amalgam. But when you come to the non-functional, when you go here and you go down here, your burr will remain the same direction, long axis. Yes. And what will it do? It will create a butt joint, 90 degree. Gingival floor and the axial, not the axial wall, the lingual wall. Okay, the cavo surface angle, it should be 90 degree. On the functional, the cavo surface angle should be less than 90 degree. Okay. Till now, we have created, we have removed the contact area, but the pulpal floor remains the same. From in the proximal, in the occlusal, both remains the same. The other point which is very important is, and you have learned it in the previous preparations, that towards the functional cusp you have to create an S shape. Okay, in the lingual it should be straight. Okay, so we'll try to create an S shape again. We have already created it in the buccal side, but we have to refine it accordingly. Now you have to remove the rest of the enamel if it is there, just to make sure that everything is okay. You can do this at the end of your preparation, or you can do it while you are moving on. It depends upon you. Okay. Now comes the proximal part. Now, how much you are going to go deeper in the proximal portion? What is the depth of the gingival floor to occlusal? How much? One. 1.5. It should ideally be 1.5. So 1.5 is the half of this burr. Okay, and we are there at 1.5. So we'll go full. When you reach the full cutting blade, it means that we are at 3 milli now. Okay, so it be 1 to 1.5. It is not a specific that you can go 1. It should be 1 or 1.5 around. And the dimension, the width should be how much?
0.5.
No, it should be the diameter of this burr. And what is the diameter? I have just told you in the beginning. What is the diameter of this burr? 0.8. Yes. So 0.8 to 1 milli should be the dimension. Ideally, okay? Ideally speaking. We are not speaking it in a clinical way because 0.8 we don't have a 0.8 condenser. Okay? So we have to prepare a 0.8 to 1 millimeter of the dimension, the width, and about 1 to 1.5 milli depth.
Is it gonna be curved or straight?
No, it should be straight in the beginning, but when you are preparing a line angles in the facial margins and the lingual margins, the facial should be acute and the lingual should be
Straight.
90 degree straight. So first we will go deeper in order to prepare it. Okay. You have to diverge the axial wall as well. So everything you have to keep in mind. But the axial wall divergence should be at almost the end of your preparation. Okay. Now we are going deeper. We have achieved the depth now. Okay. So in order to see better now, I will remove because this has served its purpose to make sure. Here your burr should be slightly towards the mesial because now the margin ridge has created, and if you can inspect this, there is a small ditch created at the gingival floor here. You know this ditch? What is the problem associated with this? When you go deeper and you do not tilt it slightly distally or tilt your burr towards the mesial side so that your tip of the burr should direct distally, this will happen. And why it has happened? Because of the overall concavity in the mesial box. So that's very important. Even I can do mistakes. So for you to keep in mind all these, it's very important in order to avoid these mistakes. Okay? You see this small ditch is created? When you go deeper here, keeping it straight, it will go down. But if you slightly tilt it slightly and go deeper, then it's okay. You prepare it, and then at the end, the axial wall at the end, when you're finalizing the cavity, you can slightly diverge your axial wall at the end. Okay. Now you can use a enamel hatchet to smoothen the cavity. This is straight and this is slightly convergent. Okay. This one is straight, and there is an S shape created. For me, it is a bit overextended here. It should remain in here like that. Slightly, maybe a 0.2 or 0.3 millimeter slightly extended, but that is not a problem. Now you can check the occlusal part. If everything is okay, the pulpal floor is smooth. Okay, it's very conservative preparation. The pulpal floor should be smooth. I can feel it that on the buccal side towards the facial surface, it's slightly less deep. So I'll try to make it smooth with the help of gingival margin trimmer. Even if I can see, I'll try to do it if possible in here. You can do it with the help of slowly and steadily. You can create a sharp area. Always inspect when you've done some work. Always inspect that how is it going, so that you know what you are doing. Okay, there are two advantages of inspection. First, you become very conservative. You know where are you going wrong, and there is always a possibility of correction. And the other is you are creating a clear field of view so that you can see what you are doing. Okay, when you are cutting something, you create you know, all the debris are there and it cover your area of work. So by using the gingival module trimmer, there are two advantages. First, you smoothen out all the rough surfaces, and the other is you create a gingival bevel with this. Okay, you create a gingival bevel here and on the axial bevel. So both should be created in order to remove the sharp edges and improve the resistance form. Okay. Now again we will clear it out so that we can see. So at the end here, I'll just keep my burr slightly like this to create an acute angle here. Okay. That's it. Now inspect all the areas of any abnormality, any rough surfaces and everything. Check out where it needs to be improved. Okay, now the acute surface is prepared here, and there are definite line angles and point angles now. Okay, the axial wall is here, it's okay, and the gingival floor is also slightly beveled. This one is also beveled. The axiopulpal line angle is also beveled, and the pulpal floor is straight, and there is a definite dovetail. Okay, now you can see this, and then you can